Your attention, please. Among a growing number of game-changing innovators comes yet another emerging entrepreneur in Atlanta, one you will want to watch. She's on to something that could disrupt more than a single tech sector, but the very future of management consulting itself. Her innovative model challenges the existing formats of large consulting firms, struggling to adapt to the innovation economy by developing a firm by millennials for millennials. Sounds simple? Not so fast. This one could be a game changer. Greetings, everyone, and welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. It's August 28th, 2015, and this is Tech Talk. I'm your host, Frank Baia. In July 2012, a client approached Jordan and asked her to start her own consulting firm. Now, with already 3 years of success in business, Golden Source Consultants has a mission to raise the bar on quality and delivery to clients by developing the next generation of management consultants. Up to the Tech Talk, we speak to Jordan C. Lofton. With a management degree from the University of Georgia and an MBA in strategy from Duke University, she began a career with Big Four IT consulting firms based in Atlanta. Less than 5 years later, she left the consultants and the constraints of the business-as-usual model with a relentless drive to create a better, more relevant approach to consulting, one that would provide dynamic service to clients while recruiting and retaining the top new talent in the industry. 3 years have passed, and Golden Source Consultants continues to push the edge of management consulting while providing thought leadership and a culture that seems to grow, not only in size, but in innovation as well. Learn more about this rising entrepreneurial star and an event she calls LIONShare, coming up the first week of September, that will surprise and amaze you, and about a unique concept Jordan has developed that she calls the Associate Program, that can only be described as a brilliant new evolution in the formation of tomorrow's innovation economy. It's a tech talk about a person, about a passion, about a purpose, and a company that is not only creating results for its clients, it's building a movement with a dynamically new perspective on identifying what's next and making it happen. We Tech Talk with Golden Source Consultants, founder and CEO, Jordan Lofton. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Jordan, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
We get, I think, an unusual opportunity. Here's a case where you're an expert and a professional at dealing with business strategy and helping other organizations to reach, I'm guessing, faster and greater returns on their investment. And you've done it professionally for some time, but you have another side to you, and that is you're an entrepreneur in yourself. It's an era of startups. I guess a couple of years now, if I recall best, it's about 3 years ago that you started the company. Give us some insight on how that all began and cover a little bit about how the company was formed.
Certainly. Well, I guess I'll start with my background. I graduated from UGA in 2012 and had the pleasure of working with some IT consulting firms right out of undergrad. It was a wonderful experience and certainly set me on the pace for a great career. And I was excited at all the opportunities they put in me. There were certainly a lot of challenges, and it really refined some of my business skills. You mentioned strategy, but there were many other things that we learned there. So business process, project management, all the things that really make businesses tick. So as I spent 4.5 years there, I ended up deciding that I really wanted to go back and pursue my MBA. And so at that point, I ended up deciding that I was going to take some time to actually work independently while I was pursuing my MBA. And interestingly enough, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father is a 2-time entrepreneur, and I have an aunt who has her own company, and both my brothers own their own companies. So this was really just something that I really had a passion for. And so after seeing how some of the big corporations worked and having the experience in consulting, what I realized is, you know what, this is the right time for me to actually take some of those skills that I've learned in consulting, and maybe this is the right time to either go back and help the family business or to one day go out and do something on my own. And so at that point, I went independent, and I pursued my degree at Duke University in strategy. And I was finishing up my degree, and I had really been working towards going back and helping the family business. It's an auto parts business.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized...
Well, as you're talking, let me interject real quick and say that I can remember, first off, is that I can almost remember hearing entrepreneur for the first time, but I certainly can remember hearing serial entrepreneur. And you mentioned your dad had been twice an entrepreneur. I think nowadays it's a case where so many first-generation entrepreneurs, first-generation company owners and beginners have created a category that really has become the heart and soul of our industry, as our economy, rather, as far as the U.S. is concerned. Small business is the backbone. So the whole concept that you've got a family background and almost a tradition in dealing with being an entrepreneur, and then working in an industry where you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, I can see it would be pretty tempting for you to say, hey, this is fun doing it, fun consulting it, fun having family members, but I want to get in it. I want to be part of it. So please, I didn't want to interrupt, but on the other side, I was excited to hear the connections between the family and the experience that you had as far as the business is concerned.
Absolutely, and I think you made a great point about just having that example. As an entrepreneur, having a family member who had kind of said, okay, it's okay to step out there on your own, that, this is just as valid a career option as anything else out there. Sure. And really giving me the courage that, really it's okay. Even if you fail, everything is okay, because there's always opportunities to go out there and to try again. And so it was that safe environment that I felt that I had, in the business or even on my own.
Well, failure's proprietary knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So it was kind of towards the end of my degree at Duke. I was working with a client here in Atlanta, and he approached me. He had a project that was going on, and I was assisting with the project as a project manager. And he started asking me, hey, we're going to need to create a PMO. Can you help me, find some people for the PMO and build it? And, I start passing him some resumes and, recommending some of my Duke classmates. And he pulled me aside one day. It was in the evening, and he sat me down and said, Jordan, I really don't think you understand what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to have a company. I'm asking you to have the resources, you to have the training and the quality so that they do things the way that I know that you can produce. And so I said, wow, I really hadn't thought about that before. So let me give that some thought, and I'll come back to you. And honestly, at that time, I thought, well, that sounds, exciting, but a little risky. So, rather than jump headfirst into this, I'm going to run this by a couple of people. So I, of course, went to my father and other family members, went to some of my Duke classmates, went to some other people who were in my network, and to my surprise, every single one of them encouraged me to do it. So it was really then, that was back in July of 2012, that I officially formed the company and took all of my savings and hired 2 employees. Wow. And so that was really how we got our start, and that was 3 years ago. And
well, that's the amazing. That's the amazing part about it when you consider the fact that it was sort of, I think the term is accidental excellence. I think a case where you didn't set out to do it, but yet all of the messages, all of the indications, even the opportunities began to be pretty much obvious, and a decision had to be made. And knowing that you took a risk, it's got to be incredibly satisfying that within, 3 years, you mentioned 2012, that you've grown so much. Let's talk a little bit about how GSC has grown in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. So year one was really about, okay, this is one project and we have this wonderful opportunity, but can we grow this? Is this something bigger than just one project? And so I remember when the team first came on, we talked about what the goals were for the company. And the only goal I gave them was to do a great job, to focus on quality and to really hit hard some of the things that we knew were going to be our core offerings, the project management, business process, strategy, and training development. So to go in there, to do those things well, and then to see if other people would recognize us for those things and request us to assist on their projects. And so within that first year, we grew from that one project to 3 different projects within that same client. And so to me, that was a great year one. So at year 2, the question was, okay, we have a great account, but the question is, can we grow that beyond one client? Can we make this something bigger than just this one client? And so last year, that was our focus. And I remember going out in January of last year, and I had visited a client in Dallas. And it was really one of the first times I had done a true sales pitch before. And, you know, as a consultant, my role was always on the delivery side. So for the first time, I was walking in to sell my services and my company, not just myself. So this was something very new for me. And so I remember at one point, we were kind of finishing up, and the gentleman looked at me and said, "So what's your differentiator?" Now, as a strategy major, I really should have had this one nailed down, but I responded, "Our quality." And I gave him a long list of all the reasons why our quality was better than other competitors. And he just looked me dead in the eye and said, "That's not a great answer. You know, I believe you. Small companies usually have higher quality, but the bottom line is the only way I know you're telling the truth is if I actually purchase from you, and that's a risk I'm not willing to take with a small company. So you need to come back when you have a different answer to that question." And so that was hard to hear, but it was really what I needed to hear at that point.
Sounds like an episode of Shark Tank.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what?
Go back and get
That's
your numbers
the fun
straight.
part of my job. That's the fun part of my job as a CEO, is that every day it's like being on the Shark Tank.
Well, I got a feeling that the next time you came back, you had an answer to that question.
Absolutely.
And,
so that was my job last year.
The mystery is, did you get the account?
We're still working on it. We're in some talks right now, so that's the exciting part of seeing it grow. So you know, honestly, the answer to that question really took a lot of thought. And the main question that I had to ask myself is, what really did make us different from other consulting firms? And not just big consulting firms, but other boutique consulting firms. And I can say that up until that point, I had not thought about that because I was so focused on, you know, doing a good job and being recognized within one account. But when you start thinking about, well, what really makes us different as a company, that's a very different question. And so I didn't have an immediate answer, but over the summer last year, I was working with some interns from Georgia Tech. And the one young man was actually working in the office with me, and he would come in every day, and he would sit down with me, and we'd go through, you know, here's your goals for the day. I would give him some instructions. He would come back in the afternoon, show me what he had done. You know, there was initially some heavy edits, and, you know, he'd go back and work on it. And we kind of did this process every day for a couple of months. And I realized, you know, I get really excited about doing this with him. It's a lot of work on my side, but it's actually really rewarding because he reminds me so much of myself when I started in consulting. And so I was out to lunch with him one day, and we were just having a casual conversation, and I knew he was going to graduate in December, and so, you know, well, where are you thinking about applying, you know? And I wasn't thinking of recruiting, you know, at that point. It was just casual conversation. And he lists off about 5 companies and not a single consulting firm. And I got to tell you, I was so surprised because this young person just demonstrated excellent skill sets for consulting. And I looked at him and I said, you know, why aren't you considering consulting as a career path? And he talked to me about, you know, some of his concerns about entering into the Big Four consulting and the work-life balance and kind of the uncertainty that the consulting firms typically have, you know, with career pathing and you know, the projects and different roles. And he was just really nervous about entering into that type of a work environment. And his point to me was, you know what, some of these other things, particularly the work-life balance, is so important to me that I would choose a different career path altogether than to put myself into a situation where I feel like it would be compromised. And I thought, wow, that's actually pretty insightful on his part as a young person. And it also demonstrates that there's clearly a need here for these young people to have an opportunity to work in consulting. Now the question is, you know, what are they really looking for? So I decided to have a little focus group one weekend with the 3 interns. And we spent about 2 hours. And I just listened to them tell me what they were looking for in their career. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? How should they be promoted? What are their biggest fear about coming into their first job? How should they be rewarded? How should they receive feedback? All of those types of things. And what I heard that day, I knew somehow, some way, the differentiator was there. I just didn't know at that point, okay, how do you build a company off of what these young people are describing, which is, in all honesty, very similar to a university. So that took me another couple of months. So I really thought about that, really thought, okay, if what they're describing is like a university, what about what they're describing is something that actually solves a client's problem and helps the clients? So, we have to answer that client side of it. And so it took me another month or two, and I came back into the office, and the young man was sitting there, and I said, okay, I think I have an idea, and I want to run it by you. And I just whiteboarded it, and that's how the associate program was born. His eyes lit up, and I knew that there was something there with the associate program from that moment on. So that's what I spent last year building out. So we've launched that this year, and I took it to the market and really got validation before we launched it and had 30 clients say, yes, this is not just something that we're interested in. We're really excited about it. It solves some of our recruiting needs for millennials, and we're really excited about how this can incorporate in and provide great quality consulting at a price point that we can afford. And so it really kind of answered all of the questions that I had from the differentiator standpoint.
Well, to maybe get it down to a concise point for our listening audience, what is it and why do you think it's so crucial to your business model?
So the associate program is a year-long program for those who are coming out of undergrad, and it has three key components. It has a leadership component, it has a training component, and it has a rotation component. And the goal is to give these young people a lot of experience within a short amount of time. But what it does for our clients is it provides a way that it ensures they get really high quality within quick wins, and they get all of that at a great price. And so what we're able to do is, because they're receiving so much training, we know that they've been cross-trained on all of our core offerings, that for any project, our consultants can walk on and they know. But they haven't just learned it at on the client's projects, but they've learned it in our classrooms. And then they've applied it to the projects. And they've gotten to see different types of projects because of all the different projects we place them on through the rotations.
I think
so our clients know the quality is there.
I think you've really discovered something that a lot of people are trying to define. I think millennials anymore are not really a demographic as much as they're reflective of a whole change in culture and a change of workforce attitude. So I think that what you're describing as far as the associate program, what a win-win. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a case where, again, that's that entrepreneurial spirit in you that goes beyond just doing a traditional, if there is such a thing, consulting firm, to go into something like the associate program. Real quickly, though, as we're rapidly running out of time, but does it mean you only focus on millennials, or is that a case where it's broader than that?
Absolutely not. We don't only focus on millennials, and that's a great point. We actually, at a manager level and above, we only hire people with 10 years of experience, and they have to have at least one professional certification. Our goal is that we're building the firm from the ground up, but that means we need a lot of leadership internally to mentor and grow those young people. And so from every level, you're getting the very best, and we're making sure that everyone is experts, and we're making sure in particular that we're developing the young people to become the experts of the future.
Now, there's so many other questions I want to ask, but because of the time constraints, let's really get to something I think is incredibly valuable to our listening audience, and certainly about the program that you're talking about as far as the associate program. I know you've got an event called the LIONShare coming up in September. Tell us a little bit about that and about exactly what it's all about and what it relates to as far as the associate program and the company business model.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we're passionate about is our core values, And so we have leadership, innovation, openness and sharing, and nice, friendly, and approachable. Those are our core values. And it's something that when we are working with our team, we make sure that they know what that lion mentality is all about. So you'll always see on our website or in any of our print material that word lion is always capitalized because that's our core values. That's who we are.
It's the eye of the lion, I guess, huh?
Exactly. So the LIONShare events are meant to really showcase our core value of openness and sharing. And so what we do is we really listen to some of the needs that our clients have. And so this year we heard big data from one of our clients, and another one came to us and said customer experience was the biggest need that they had, and they were really trying to look for some thought leadership around that. And so because what's important to our clients is also important to our team, we want to make sure that we're actually bringing people in to talk about these things. And so what we've done is we have arranged for a panel discussion of 9 industry experts on customer experience to come and talk. It's going to be September 2nd from 8 to 11 at the Galleria Rome location. And they range from the service industries to the product industries, and even some local small businesses are coming in to talk. And so companies like AT&T, Cox, Assurance, the Atlanta Hawks, and the list goes on. They're all coming in to talk with us about how they view customer experience and what they're looking to do in the future so that they can continue to grow their companies using customer experience as a base.
Really brilliant. I mean, obviously there's a lot of evolution in the concept of generating innovation, and obviously the movement in hackathons and some of the activities that are going on in terms of innovation centers, trying to generate really something that you've got a system from almost, I'll say, source to consumption, from getting the kids or the young people, the students that are interested, getting them trained and educated in your associate program, and then leveraging that program as it relates to generating innovative ideas of potential prospects as well as to the industry in general. We're quickly running out of time, Jordan, but if someone is interested in participating in the program, the associate program particularly, but if they're a company who would be interested in participating in the rotations, how do they get in touch with you?
Great question. So if they go to our website, www.goldensourceconsultants.com, there's a page on our values. And if they scroll down, there's a place where they can request more information about the associate program. And if anyone is looking to apply for the associate program as a student coming in, then they'll also find our job boards on our website.
Well, Jordan, I think you're onto something. Obviously, you have an innate sensitivity that is clear-eyed. I mean, I joked about the eye of the tiger, but the eye of the lion, I think that is a great concept. The associate program is strong. I don't have to tell you because I can sense that you're getting a lot of validation from the response that you're receiving. But one of the things with Tech Talk is we span across so many different technologies, so many different ideas and innovations. I've got to tell you, I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing at Golden Source. And I think from your enthusiasm and passion and that innate, it's in your DNA to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to enjoy watching as the company continues to grow, and can't wait to see what the next good idea is going to be coming out of a different way to approach I think what has gotten to be, I wouldn't say traditional, but certainly a laid-back industry. Where you're talking about disruptive and dynamic times, and Golden Source is creating a disruptive and dynamic solution for it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to join us for a few minutes on Tech Talk.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.